In Palestine, Israeli bombings claimed the life of thousands of people in the Gaza Strip 250 days after the beginning of the genocidal aggressions by the Zionist state. In France, thousands of demonstrators rallied for a third consecutive day to protest against the advance of the extreme right after the last Sunday's European parliamentary elections and the call for snap legislators' polls in the country. And in Argentina, the Senate debates the law of bases, the flagship project of Javier Milei's government, as citizens gather outside the Congress to express their rejection to the bill. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We'll begin with the news. Stay with us. In Palestine, new Israeli bombings claimed the life of thousands of people in the Gaza Strip 250 days after the beginning of the genocidal aggression by the Zionist state. The Wafa news agency reported 6 citizens were killed in the last hours after the occupation army plants and bombs a house belonging to the Hassan family in Al-Zaytun neighborhood southeast of the Gaza Strip. Of the Gaza City, earlier another airstrike on a house in the Shawiya neighborhood killed at least 7 people and wounded several others. Bombings were also reported in areas of Rafah, Khan Yunis, and central Gaza. The Israeli occupation forces have killed 540 civilians in the occupied West Bank during the last 8 months, as a result of the intensification of the Zionist regime's aggressions against Palestine. In the last 24 hours alone, at least 6 civilians were reportedly killed by the occupation forces in an attack in the northern West Bank. Local authorities informed that at least 5,200 Palestinian civilians, mostly women and children, have been wounded during the offensive since October of 2023.
You know that this is an occupation, and the occupation is willing to kill, to demolish houses to put pressure on people. For example, demolishing a house can put pressure on us, because everyone this occupation puts pressure on all the members of the Palestinian people. I mean, it doesn't put pressure on a specific leadership.
The Palestinian authorities accuse Israel of using water as a weapon of war by restricting its supply to the population. The head of the Palestinian Water Authority, Mazen Gonein, denounced that the Israeli armed forces destroyed pipes and installations of the resources in Gaza while preventing the entry of fuel for the operation of the pumping equipment. Gonein points out that in the West Bank, the situation is similar because Tel Aviv controls most of the sources of the vital liquid and uses them to control the territory. Political leaders who attend in Jordan the call for action urgent humanitarian response for Gaza conference call on Israel to cease fire in the occupied territories. During the meeting, the United Nations humanitarian corridor Martin Griffin described the Israeli attack on Gaza as a disgrace to humanity and as to raise $2.5 billion to meet the needs of the people in Gaza.
There is a need for a robust mechanism for coordination that engages all parties on the ground. Effective and comprehensive deconfliction between the actors on the ground is key to ensure aid agencies can act, organize, and perform their duties safely, sufficiently, and sustainably. Second, the land corridor is the most effective method for aid to flow into Gaza. International resources are critically needed to undertake this urgent endeavor. We must be ready now to deploy a sufficient number of trucks to deliver aid on a daily basis. Hundreds of trucks are needed within Gaza.
During the summit, the president of Egypt, Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, warned that the current crisis in the Gaza Strip is caused by Israel's war of revenge against the Gazan people.
Responsibility for the unprecedented humanitarian crisis that the Gaza Strip is experiencing lies squarely with the Israeli side, and it is the deliberate product of a destructive war of revenge against the Gaza Strip, its people, its infrastructure, and its medical system, in which the weapons of starvation and siege are used to make the Gaza Strip unlivable and forcibly displace its population from their lands without the slightest doubt, concern or respect for international conventions.
Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas noted that the UN Security Council and the international community continues to pressure Israel to open all land crossing to Gaza.
The responsibility of the Security Council and all parties of the international community remains great in pressuring Israel to open all land crossings to the Gaza Strip and hand them over to the new government. To bring in all relief and medical materials, shelter supplies and equipment, and basic services. Above all, and before all of that, we must continue to make efforts for an immediate and permanent ceasefire and the withdrawal of all Israeli forces from the Gaza Strip.
On Wednesday, the United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in Qatar as part of the third stop of his current Middle East tour. In this context, Blinken met Qatari Prime Minister Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Jin Al Thani as the Biden administration's representative aims to discuss the latest resolution for a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. During his visit to Qatar, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken told the media that the government of Egypt, Qatar, and Washington are making a very effort to bridge the differences over the situation in Gaza.
Based on what we've seen and what I've discussed with the Prime Minister and what we've discussed with our Egyptian colleagues, we're determined to try to bridge the gaps. And I believe those gaps are bridgeable. Doesn't mean they will be bridged, because again, it ultimately depends on people saying yes.
Let's take a very first break, but remember, you can now join us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, where you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. In France, thousands of demonstrators rallied for the third consecutive day to protest against the advance of the extreme right after last Sunday's European parliamentary elections and the call for snap legislature polls in the country. A crowd gathered at the Republic Square in Paris to express their concern about the electoral growth of fascism after the triumph of Marine Le Pen's ultra-right party. Protests have been taking place also in cities such as Marseille, Mens, Toulouse, and Rennes.
There will not be a Macronist prime minister. It is no longer possible. There will certainly be a cohabitation, so it will either be Jordan Bardella, the extreme right in power in France, and all that means for the French, or it will mean the Population Front. There are two choices, and that's why I'm going to do everything I can, every hour of every day and night, until June 30, to make sure it's the Popular Front.
On Wednesday, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov received his Cuban counterpart Bruno Rodriguez in Moscow. The meeting between the two ministers focused on issues related to the deepening of the bilateral strategic partnership between their countries, as well as the strengthening of economic commercial links with the implementation of projects in different sectors. In this regard, Rodriguez thanks the administration of Vladimir Putin for the cooperation in the fight against the illegal U.S. blockade.
We are grateful to our Cuban friends for their principled position on the situation around Ukraine. From the very beginning, Havana assessed the ongoing events, outlining absolutely correct and true reasons for what had begun and what the West had been preparing for many years. We are grateful to our Cuban friends for the fact that they are also promoting this objective, consistent line at various forums, including within the framework of the non-aligned movement.
The government of Malawi decreed 21 days of national mourning for the death of Vice President Saulo Chilima. In this regard, the President of the nation, Lazarus Chiwera, established a ministerial committee for the arrangements regarding the Vice President's state funeral. Chilima and 8 other people died after their military plane crashed in a mountainous area south of Nzuzu during a short flight from the capital, Lilongwe. In France, a forest fire fanned by a strong wind spread over 600 hectares in the south of the country, causing the evacuation of several villages with no casualties being reported so far. The forest fires started around 3 p.m. on local time on Tuesday in the village of Vidaurban in the hinterland of Saint-Tropez, an area historically affected by fires in summer. According to the fire department, thousands of people were evacuated as a precautionary measure from 4 villages in the small town of Plaine de la Tour and 2 areas of Vidaurban.
Tonight, we have just over 400 firefighters working to secure all the edges and to prevent the fire from reoccurring tomorrow. During the day, there will be some. It is inevitable with the return of the heat. But all the hours saved during the cooler hours will save us a lot of fighting and trouble tomorrow.
In Chile, more than 400 families have been evacuated due to a storm that has brought hurricanes, force winds, heavy snowfall, and torrential rains to the south of the country. The most affected area is the municipality of Arauco, where the overflowing of the Pichilo River caused the greatest number of affected people. In this sense, the local authorities point out that many of the victims have been moved to shelters, while others have found refuge with families and friends. Let's take our last break, but before we invite you to join us on our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on the screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Continue coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR on Financial Breakdown. Go away. Welcome back. Since 10 a.m. local time, the Argentine Senate debates the law of bases, the main project of Javier Milei's government, which has generated a strong resistance from sectors of the population. The Chamber of Deputies already passed a bill at the end of April. The upper houses will decide its approval. Although debate is expected on the government's mega project, which is being presented for the second time after failed to win approval during the first months of Milei's mandate. In the middle of the security operation of the gates of the Congress, a group of deputies was repressed with pepper sprayed by the police while participating in the march in front of the Legislative Palace in rejection of the law of base. Among those affected were the legislators of Unión por la Patria, Eduardo Valdés, Carlos Castañeto, Luis Basterra, Carolina Jutrovic, and Juan Manuel Pedrini.
Unfortunately, the president is doing things wrong. So I want everyone, including the youth, to realize that things are going badly. And today what has to happen must happen as it should. That law must not be passed.
What future awaits all our children? That's why we have to be here, making an effort to prevent that law from being signed.
Also, as a result of this scenario, nearly 200,000 university teachers from all over the country participate on a strike that will last for 48 hours. The teachers oppose the salary adjustment imposed by the national government of the sector. According to the union organizations, the call achieved a high level of compliance with activities being paralyzed in more than 60 national universities, where nearly 2 million young people study. Although the focus is on the workers' salary claim, the 8-hour action sought to coincide with the Senate's session debating the approval of Milei's law basis. And on Cuba, 3 ships and a nuclear-powered submarine of the Russian Navy arrived on Wednesday on an official visit to the port of Havana, where they will remain until June the 17th. The naval detachment is composed of frigate Admiral Gorshkov, the oil tanker Academic Passion, the salvage tug Nikolai Kikern, and the submarine Kazan. Previously, the Cuban Foreign Ministry points out that none of the vessels is a nuclear weapons carrier, so that the stopover in the country does not represent a threat to the region. And now, changing